Imagine a man the CIA wanted to kill with an explosive cigar and who was obsessed with ice cream. This is the Fidel Castro you've never heard about. Welcome to a journey through Cold War Cuba, a Caribbean island transformed into a silent battlefield between superpowers. Here, in the heart of one of the most fraught eras in history, one man became the epicenter of global paranoia, surviving hundreds of assassination attempts, often bordering on the absurd. Today we will reveal not only the incredible saga of the plots to eliminate him, but also his more eccentric sides, those that make him a unique figure, an enigma that still fascinates and divides. Prepare to discover a story filled with intrigue worthy of a spy novel, but also with ice cream, milk, and a cow that became a state symbol. The Cold War wasn't just about nuclear weapons and spies in European capitals, there was a much hotter and in some ways surreal front, Cuba. And at the center of it all, the bearded man, the unmistakable Fidel Castro. For the American Central Intelligence Agency, eliminating Castro became a true obsession, an absolute priority that defied all logic and, at times, even common sense. The plots orchestrated to get rid of the leader Maximo seem to have come straight from a low grade spy film, a tragicomedy made of resounding failures and frankly bizarre ideas. We're not talking about snipers or aerial bombardments. No, the imagination of American agents with the approval of high level government officials went much further. One of the most infamous plans involved the use of explosive cigars. Imagine Castro, his iconic cigar between his lips as it suddenly explodes. Luckily for the commander, the idea, however daring, never saw the light of day, but it wasn't the only shady attempt. There were even chemically treated cigars designed to make his beard fall out, an unthinkable affront to a symbol of the revolution. The idea was to undermine his public image, making him look ridiculous in the eyes of the people. This plan, too, fortunately failed. But the CIA's lethal creativity didn't stop with cigars. There were poison pills. They even thought of hiding them in his food or drinks. In one famous case, capsules containing a fast acting poison were delivered to a Cuban contact who was destined to place them in Castro's favorite smoothie. These pills, however, mysteriously dissolved and became ineffective before they even reached their target. Other attempts involved the use of bacteria or toxins, such as a pathogen that was supposed to affect his diving suit. The idea was to impregnate the inside of his suit with a mixture of fungi and bacteria, causing him to suffer a debilitating illness or even death during one of his beloved dives. Once again, the plan proved to be a failure. There was no shortage of more traditional attempts, so to speak. The CIA attempted to collaborate with figures from the Italian American mafia, sworn enemies of Castro for having ruined their lucrative business in Havana. Plans were hatched that included the use of professional killers, poisons administered in restaurants frequented by Castro, or even seashells modified to explode during his scuba diving. The list is long and often ridiculous: poisoned pens, hallucinogenic sprays to disorient him before a speech, or even the idea of filling his office with canisters containing chemicals to temporarily incapacitate him. It has been estimated that there were over 600 assassination attempts against Fidel Castro, a staggering number that reflects the obsession his figure sparked in Washington. Yet Castro remained relentless, escaping every plot, every bullet, every poisoning attempt. His survival became legendary, transforming him into a living symbol of resistance to US imperialism. To many, his invincibility was not just luck, but a demonstration of his cunning and popular support. Each failed attempt only strengthened his myth and his grip on power, making him, in the eyes of his supporters, an almost invulnerable entity. But Fidel Castro's life wasn't all international plots and conspiracies. Behind the image of the inflexible revolutionary, the leader Maximo with his uniform and cigar, lurked a much more bizarre, almost eccentric side. A side that revealed unsuspected passions bordering on obsession for apparently simple things like milk and ice cream. Yes, you read that right. Fidel Castro loved milk, and he loved it in industrial quantities. His passion was legendary, so much so that it said he drank liters of it every day. This, in a Cuba where food rationing was the norm and fresh milk a luxury, was a remarkable fact. It was as if, despite the economic difficulties and privations imposed by the American embargo, Castro wanted to ensure that milk, a symbol of nourishment and prosperity, was never missing from his table. It wasn't just a preference, but almost a physiological necessity, a comfort, and then there was ice cream. Oh, ice cream. His passion for this cold dessert was almost childish, but at the same time grandiose, like everything related to Castro. It is said that he ate it regularly, often visiting the famous Copelia ice cream parlor in Havana, a Cuban institution which, not coincidentally, was created precisely at Castro's request. The idea was to offer a very high quality ice cream, with a variety of flavors comparable and superior to that offered by Western countries, demonstrating Cuba's ability to compete even in this seemingly frivolous sector. The creation of Copelia was a political act, as much as a personal indulgence, an attempt to demonstrate the superiority of the socialist system even in everyday pleasures. But Castro's obsession with milk reached its peak in a story that is almost surreal, a story featuring a cow. Not just any cow, but Ubre Blanca, literally white udder. This wasn't just any cow, it was a star, a state symbol, an almost mythological creature in the Cuban livestock scene. Ubre Blanca was the result of an ambitious genetic crossbreeding program initiated by Castro himself. The goal? To create a Cuban supercow capable of producing unprecedented quantities of milk. Castro was convinced that through genetic engineering and careful selection, Cuba could surpass the capitalist agricultural powers and become self sufficient in dairy production, defying the embargo and its privations. And Ubre Blanca delivered. She was a true world champion in milk production. In 1982, she entered the Guinness Book of Records for the highest milk production in a single day, 110 liters. To understand the extent of this record, just think that a normal cow produces on average between 20 and 30 liters per day. Ubre Blanca became a national heroine, the subject of newspaper reports, songs, and even a monument dedicated to her. He was living proof that Castro's utopia of efficient, technologically advanced agriculture was not just a dream, but a tangible reality. It was a powerful symbol of national pride, of Cuban ingenuity, and of the ability to defy the laws of nature and external pressures. Castro personally monitored every detail of his diet, his health, his reproduction. It was a state project, a scientific experiment, and an ideological trophy. Ubre Blanca embodied the dream of a revolution that did not stop at politics, but aimed to transform every aspect of Cuban life, from sugar production to livestock farming, into a model of socialist excellence. However, as often happens with utopias, this grandiose vision collided with harsh reality. Keeping a cow like Ubre Blanca required immense resources, specialized care, and a controlled environment, things not always available on a large scale in Cuba. Ultimately, the dream of breeding hundreds of super cows was not realized. Ubre Blanca died in 1985, not from disease or at the hands of the CIA, but from complications related to his exceptional production. She was cloned and embalmed, her memory kept alive as a reminder of the ambitions and perhaps also the limitations of the Cuban Revolution. And so, we arrive at the paradox, the incredible enigma of Fidel Castro, a man who defied the world's greatest superpower for over half a century, ruling Cuba with an iron fist and fiery rhetoric. A leader who has seen 10 American presidents pass by from Eisenhower to George W. Bush, each with his own strategy to bring him down, and he has survived them all. It has withstood an economic embargo that would have crushed many nations, international conspiracies that could have filled entire libraries, missile crises that brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Yet this political titan, this imposing and controversial figure on the world stage, was also a man with almost childish passions, such as a visceral love for milk and ice cream or a near obsession with a record breaking cow. This is the true charm of Fidel Castro, his ability to be at once a ruthless revolutionary and a bizarre character, a living legend of resistance and a man with his own quirks. His figure is complex, made up of socialist ideals, anti imperialist rhetoric, but also of authoritarian decisions and human rights violations. He is a puzzle of contradictions, a leader who profoundly marked the history of the 20th century, leaving a legacy that still generates heated debates today. His Cuba, an island trapped in the time of the Cold War, with its vintage cars and its spirit of resilience, remains an enigma, an open air museum of a bygone era. Fidel Castro, the mock leader Máximo Sniz, will be remembered not only as a giant for his political stature and his ability to challenge the United States, but also for his incredible human eccentricities. A man who reminds us that history is often woven of incredible plots, where the sublime mixes with the ridiculous, danger merges with the bizarre. If you've been fascinated by this incredible tale of intrigue and bizarre, click here for another journey into the secrets of the Cold War.